Camera footage showing the dogs involved in today's attack off-leash on their Dorchester street recently. These are the same dogs now in the custody of animal control after one of them mauled an 11-year-old boy. That boy is expected to survive thanks to an off-duty police officer who heard screams and scrambled over to help. Otherwise, as WBZ's Tiffany Chan reports, the outcome might have been very different.
So already they're looking for a hero. They're already looking to turn this into a story of a hero rather than focus on the attack and focus on ways to prevent attacks like this. Prevent it from happening to any other child in the country. That should be the only discussion had. But no, as always, I'm quite sure they're about to turn this into a story of a hero and leave it at that. Let's continue.
A neighbor described those two pit bulls as aggressive and says she's not surprised to hear about the attack, but the victim's family says they're at least grateful an off-duty Boston police officer was nearby and heard their child screaming out for help.
An off-duty officer heard the sounds of screaming, and he observed a pit bull viciously attacking a young 11-year-old child.
The officer didn't hesitate to help, grabbing his radio and gun, even hopping several fences to get to the boy.
Hurry up, we need EMS and bring some units to animal control something. This dog's just a pit bull, it's a pit bull.
Boston Police Commissioner William Gross says the 11-year-old was playing in his backyard along Rock Terrace in Dorchester when the pit bull latched onto his neck, arm, and groin. The officer tried to fight the dog off while someone else held down a second.
Attacked his neck, arm, and groin of an 11-year-old. And then you see that brainless, large rodent. And somebody correctly pointed out that these mutts, these repugnant beasts, they sniff around everywhere, always looking for food, like a rodent. They behave exactly like a rodent, always sniffing around. And they are just as brainless, even more brainless than rodents. These are the creatures that get praised every day. How sick is that? You know, I'm really sick of this disgusting culture, this savage, subhuman, evil culture. The nerve of anyone to praise creatures like that, a group like this, the only group that mutilates human kids. It should be a crime, like I said, to honor these things the way people do, with groups, really worship and exalt the existence of these things. That is sick. There's no debating that. It's not up for argument. That is sick and inhumane.
Pitbull.
The dog continued to viciously attack the young child, and fearing for the child's safety, the officer discharged his firearm, halting the attack.
It likely saved the boy's life, but Gross says this wasn't the first time police were called to the home.
To me, they seemed aggressive.
A neighbor showing us surveillance video days before the attack of the pit bulls walking around freely on the street.
Well, the owners definitely, they were not responsible. Too responsible with the dogs. They were not leashed.
Animal control hauled the two dogs away as a part of the investigation. The boy had to undergo surgery and is expected to survive thanks to the quick action of that off-duty officer.
Wait a minute. So, of course, they got back around to turning it into a hero story. But this was footage from days before or the day before of these pit bulls off leash running around the community. Now, I know these dog nuts, they're going to look at it and say, oh, well, it's just irresponsible owners. Exactly. How do we know the people who are responsible from those who are irresponsible? According to your definition. My definition, if you own one of these things, you are irresponsible. But let's use your logic that a responsible owner would keep the dogs contained. How do we know the responsible from the irresponsible? By the time you figure it out, it's too late. Too late. So you can't regulate it. These things should not exist in our society at all. Because they are the only group of creatures on this planet that mutilates kids. Mutilate everybody. But kids, primarily, most of the time. Because of that, dogs should be the #1 enemy of human beings. If that were the case for any other group on this planet, that is exactly what dogs would be in the eyes of those creatures. It's only this group, humans, allegedly the most intelligent, that not only permits their presence, but exalts their presence. How sick is that? I know this might seem too overt. You know, you want to do something crazy or you want to hide something from people, they tell you to put it right in their faces. Because it'll be so ridiculous that they won't even recognize it. This is overtly sadistic. Sadistic. I mean, evil is an understatement. This is sickening culture. If you can even call it culture. Well, culture is what you do. This is the culture. It's sickening. Stories like this is sickening. Listening to these so-called educated people turn these attacks into a hero story is sickening. Do you not have any connection whatsoever with basic human decency or intelligence? The morale level has to be beneath the ground to allow these creatures to exist the way they exist today. Exalted, celebrated, honored, worshipped. Sickening.
At this point, we're just thankful that the child was saved.
Commissioner Gross says trauma services will be available not only to the victim and his family, but for that police officer as well. From Dorchester, I'm Tiffany Chan for WBZ News.
Boston Mayor Marty Walsh took to Twitter tonight about the incident. He said, quote, "My heart goes out to the young boy injured in this incredibly sad and tragic event this afternoon. I've spoken with his parents to wish him a full and speedy recovery, and I ask everyone to keep him in your prayers."
See that? The end. That's the end of the report. No, we're not going to do anything about dogs. They're going to be available for anyone to purchase. We're going to continue to worship them. Nothing will be enforced. Nothing will change. Your children will remain the #1 victims of dogs. They will remain available, vulnerable to another attack. And again, this happens every day. Over 2,000 dog bites per day. Over half are children. People need to get in touch with their brains. Seriously. The level of brainlessness in the world today, it doesn't even seem real. It seriously doesn't. Not even movies are this ridiculous. It does not take much effort to evolve. It doesn't take much effort to truly be intelligent. Why do so many people in this country have such a hard time acquiring basic decency and intelligence? Baffling. So this boy, 11-year-old boy, had his groin attacked. There is no telling what type of injuries he truly has. Maybe permanent. What other entity does that to humans, period, but to your kids? They're worse than serial killers. Serial killers that target adults, they're worse than that. These are child predators. So to see all these groups and all these stupid people, these satanic people, owning and praising the existence of these mutants, many of these people I'm related to, it is a very tough pill to swallow. Just to tolerate this planet is extremely difficult. So I basically vent and rant here. I vlog. That's what I do, to let the world know. And it's nice to know there are some people out there who agree with me. Maybe a small crowd, but they're out there. Hopefully, we can convert as many people as possible. Hopefully, every human being on the planet. And we will continue with this ruthless crusade against these worthless, good-for-nothing rodents and their enabling owners.